broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 240 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challand, with co-host Zack Carlson. This is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Take two, Zack. That worked pretty good. What's up?
Pretty good. How's it going? Yeah, we're redoing this because it's had it a little funky the first time around. So you got the rehearsed version of the intro.
Yeah, not that it's any better. So, Zack, I have a problem. I have a big problem. You know how some people...
Problems?
What's that?
Is there 99 problems?
Yeah, 99 problems. And guns ain't one because I don't have time for them. You know, some people say, "Oh, I can't go in Walmart or Costco or Sam's Club without spending $100 or $200." Or, you know, you've heard that, right?
Yeah. It's usually by women, and Target is usually the store.
Okay, so my problem is Tractor Supply. I seriously cannot go in there without spending at least $100. It seems like.
It's weird because you don't even have a tractor yet.
I know. Well, I think I will tomorrow. So.
Okay. Tractor Watch 2020.
Anyways, yeah, they have like some of the best clearance usually at like multiple ones, but I'm always buying something. It's terrible. Anyways, so
is it so clearance that then you could resell it on Amazon?
Once in a while. Funny you should say.
Get into your retail arbitrage roots.
Yeah. I mean, once in a while I'll do some liquidation again, just if I stumble upon something, but it's, you know, few and far between. No, it's usually stuff I need for the homestead here. Do a homestead segment once in a while on the show, and just all kinds of useful things for around the farm or around the shop. But yeah, that's my problem. My other problem is I might have bought a mini bike.
A little 50cc guy?
A 200cc mini bike.
That's not a mini bike. That's a medium bike.
It's a mini bike. It's a Coleman. I don't know. They call it the 200 something. But yeah, it's pretty
decent. A little miniature frame?
Miniature frame, and it's got the balloon tires on it and everything, and so it's like kind of got an off-road look to it. But it's pretty fun because I have a half-mile long driveway to get to my mailbox, so I need something.
Oh, you don't have vehicles anywhere in there, or like kids that can run
it gets old driving the Yukon down. I mean,
well, you're gonna have a tractor pretty soon. That's what all old guys do, is they drive their tractors everywhere.
That'll take too long. Although this probably doesn't go any faster than a tractor, but it's funner. I mean, yeah.
Now, can you get a DUI on a mini bike? Because I think that's why a lot of people drive their tractors around, because they think they don't get DUIs.
Well, I thought of that, but
as you're drinking a PBR.
Well, it's on my own property, so can you really? I don't know.
Probably not. Yeah, if it's not your own private property.
Although I generally run up to the mailbox in the morning, so it's usually
not. You let your mail sit at night overnight?
Well, no, my poor mailman usually has to come back and pick it up because I have too much to fit in the mailbox for him to pick up, so he has to come back.
Oh, you're talking about your pickups. I was thinking of your delivery like a regular home. I forgot you have a successful business that you are running throughout that.
Somewhat, sometimes. Anyways, I might have bought two mini bikes. I might have bought the kids a 100cc one, and it's even smaller.
Wow. 100cc, like the same style? The Coleman style?
Yeah, the same style, but it's smaller in every way. And like it's really made for kids because I get on it, and I'm overweight, of course, but like I get on it and I rev it all the way up, and it's like
Does it have a centrifugal clutch on it?
It takes forever to get up to speed. Yeah, it must. I don't know the science behind it, Zach.
You don't have to pull a clutch in and shift it.
No.
Does it just take off with the throttle?
Yeah, it's like a go-kart or whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like a snowmobile. It usually has those. Just when it gets up to speed enough, it throws out the clutch and. Yeah. Okay. Is that so? What the mini bike? Is that big enough for you to ride, or
the bigger one is? Yeah. It's pretty fun.
You got like a little. So you have two. How many did you buy total?
Two.
2. Okay. Well, you have 5 kids. You need 5.
I know. Well, it's kind of funny. They're like not all into it. Like actually the littler ones are more into it. The bigger ones are like, yeah, I'm going to go. I'd rather play video games or something, which we don't let them do that often, but whatever.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because we cannot, Cam is turning 8 next month, and you cannot get him to ride a bike. Like, he has a bike. He just has no interest, barely any interest in a Razor scooter that he has. That's more interesting to him, but it is like pulling teeth to even get him on it.
Yeah.
Like, when I was 8 years old, I was running around the red neighborhood with no parental supervision.
Right.
What are you doing?
Well, my oldest is like, my 10-year-old son is like that. Actually, he's got like the coolest bike ever. Like, I don't know, you're probably the same growing up. We had like hand-me-down bikes and junk and stuff. And he's got this like fancy bike that we bought right after he moved because we had to throw his out because it was just junk. I couldn't fix it. And so I bought him a really cool one, and it's like lime green and everything, big off-road suspension and everything. And he's like, meh. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, I guess they don't get that sense of independence that we used to get. I think that was the biggest draw for us, is you could go anywhere you wanted, you know?
Right. And they have, they can ride, down to the mailbox and back, which is, a mile total, and then all around the property and everything. It's not like they have a lack of places to go. Kids these days. Damn kids.
Huh. Well, anyways, so is that the extent of your purchases of Tractor Supply? I mean, that's how many kid-barreled 1022s would that equate to? Is the mini bikes? That's your unit of measurement, right?
Not that many, actually. Actually, I got the mini bikes at. Come to think of it, Tractor Supply carries them, but Walmart had them with free shipping. So they actually came from Walmart.com. But
you mail ordered a mini bike?
Yeah, 2. Yeah, the FedEx guy wasn't too happy.
I was going to say, they got to be like, what, 100 pounds maybe?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the bigger one's over 100 pounds. The low one is probably about, I don't know, 100 pounds, give or take. I mean, I can pick it up and like flip it around, but it's not light by any means.
Huh. I don't know if I would trust a FedEx delivered mini bike. You think it would just be beat to crap by the time it's been tumbled so many times?
They weren't too bad. I ordered a bicycle for one of my daughters, my younger son, and it was just beat the heck from FedEx. I'm like, oh, great. But these weren't too bad, actually.
That's cool. Well, have you made any other purchases we need to be aware of?
Not really. Maybe a go-kart.
You got a go-kart too?
Got to spend those Trump bucks, I mean.
Sweet Trump bucks. Gotta love the Trump bucks. Huh. Okay. Well, is it a 2-seater go-kart or a single-seater?
So it's also a Coleman go-kart. It came from that one came from Tractor Supply, and that came via freight semi. And I didn't know how big it was going to be because none of the local Tractor Supplies I could drive to had any. And so we get it, we put it together, and I go to get in it. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely a kid size because you got to like when you go to like a go-kart track to race, we've done that in the past, years ago and stuff. Like, they're not big go-karts. Even then you got to kind of cram yourself into the more adult go-karts. But like, this is definitely a kid go-kart because you got to like contort yourself every way to get down in it.
Well, I remember when I used to work at Sam's Club and the tire shop, that's where they would store all of the go-karts that got returned after people smashed them into walls. Because on the go-karts they sold, I'm sure it's probably the same way, is the front wheels have no protection. Mm-hmm. Like, they are your bumper because they are flush with the front of the vehicle. Yeah. And so, give a kid a go-kart and he's going to smash that one wheel. Like, all the brute force of that impact is going to hit that one wheel, and it just shears the
tie rods
or the axle. Yeah. And so we used to drive them around before, we got to run them out of gas before you store them, right? Before they ship them back to the manufacturer. And we would all you'd have to do is you'd have to offset your weight to go 3-wheeler. So that the wheel that was missing would just kind of float above the ground, and then you'd be able to drive it 3-wheeled. Awesome. Pretty fun. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, interesting. Well, that's cool. You're being a cool dad. You can buy some engines and things, but
I'm trying to live a childhood through my kids that I didn't have.
Why don't you just buy a bigger go-kart then you could drive it?
Oh, they're so expensive. I keep looking at them and I'm like, nah, I'm like, I'm just going to buy like a 90 Honda Civic and chop it up and make it a go-kart because you can get one of those for like $800 or you can get a go-kart for like $3,800. I'm like, and plus a Honda would be like a 4 or 5 speed, get one with a clutch and be a lot funner to drive. That's
True.
my thought.
I would lean more into like a Suzuki Samurai or some really small.
I want my Ford Festiva back. That Ford Festiva was the funnest go-kart ever. I mean, that thing was incredible. Doing J turns with it and stuff, and it's just take it in the pasture. It does all kinds of stuff it shouldn't do.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, makes sense. Well, should we talk about guns at all during this show, or are we just going to keep on
I'm trying to talk about things I actually have done. So, I guess I'll talk a little more, and then we get into real gun guy stuff, Zach. Ridiculous. So I got the Kid Barrel in the mail, and it looks good. It's a brand new one. So I was hoping I'd have
a stainless version this time. Black?
No, it's the same one. It's bead blasted stainless.
Oh, I thought you had black last time.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, well, that shawl barrel is kind of black, I think, that I got.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm misremembering. Okay, so you got your stainless barrel. Did you go with the exact same part number, or did you change lengths or anything?
Yep. Same. Well, same, because I want a 6-inch. So
yeah.
I'm excited to get this together and see how it goes. Like I said before, I was concerned about that chamber, but you sent me something you found that might be a solution for that, right?
Yeah, well, that's kind of a weird thing. Yeah, I've never seen it before until today. Well, it's got a new tag on it, I guess, too. So it is a chamber made. This is from Tandem Cross. I've got a lot of Tandem Cross videos and parts and stuff here, too. So I use them a lot. And it looks like it's just they call it chamber ironing swage gunsmithing tool. So it basically cleans up. It's almost like a little reamer just to clean up any kind of deformity, which is almost what you had. So it's kind of interesting. So maybe $25 they're saying that when you dry fire a lot, this might happen. So maybe that's the reason, some people get it. But did you dry fire yours a lot, or do you remember?
No, just maybe a couple times, if even that. I think I took it right out and shot it really. But yeah, that might be something I pick up and see if I do have problems with extraction like I did big time with this last time, but I don't know if that's just because it deformed on me right away, or what. But yeah, this one I'm going to put in that bone stock 1022 and take everything out of the equation and see how it runs in something bone stock rather than using chassis and Brownell's receiver and Verkortsen bolt. Just put it on all Ruger stuff, and it should work, right?
Do you have a heat gun available there?
Yeah, I got a heat gun. Yep.
And you've unpacked it and know exactly where it's at, where you can actually get to it?
Well, yeah, because I use it for some stuff in the business. So I know right where that's at. And then I got a deep freezer in the shop too, so I can throw the other part in there and have that, throw that in the day before or something.
Yep. That should be the way to go. I think that'll make it so much easier. If it was me, I would put the bolt in it and just have it retracted before you do it. That way you could check the alignment while it's still movable. Yeah, right. Well, and I did that before too. I made sure it was aligned and everything. Once the one cools and one, once then they equalize, it's going to lock together where you're not going to be able to do it by hand anymore. Yeah. So you have to start the process all the way over again. Yeah. So, okay. So my one other thing in guns this week was, that, Bass Pro Shops, deal I did. It was a case of 9mm and a case of 5.56, and they kept sending me emails saying it was delayed, but it's still coming. Well, the 9mm handgun ammo came. So I got that via FedEx, and it was intact. So that's cool, but the other ammo is the 5.56 is completely up in the air. They're still they're sending me the same email saying it's delayed, but it still looks like they're telling me the 9mm is delayed, not the 5.56. Well, and they were holding both of them combined was $500 and some odd dollars, with shipping and everything. And so they were holding that amount in my account forever and ever. Well, after the 9mm got delivered, they ended up charging whatever amount that was separate, and the other hold fell off. So now I'm very,
doubtful they're actually going to ship the 5.56 since they don't have a hold of any kind on my account for that anymore.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll get something. I keep going back to Academy's website, just kind of seeing what's there. And, the 62 grain AR or, 5.56 ammo is just, never seems to be back in stock. So I guess I'm, forcefully, holding off. Not my choice.
Yeah. Well, the SG ammo or whatever that I got all the 22 from, they kept sending emails the last 2-3 weeks of, limited quantities they had back in stock, and they weren't price gouging or anything, but they were limited in one case. Like you could buy a case of 500 or 1,000 depending, which was cool. And like some of it wasn't like terrible. Like if you really needed it, it'd be all right to pick up.
Well, that's the thing. I don't really need it. I need to go back and count how much I actually have, but, I've been checking our distributors every day, for ammo, just, filtering by in stock only, and then just seeing what calibers, and like 9mm and 5.56 don't even show up in the caliber list once you say in stock only first. But I was able to snag a few 22 boxes. I mean, they're literally like showing 4 boxes in stock. Like, usually it would be just enough to make cases and cases and cases, but just literally single boxes of 50 rounds that I've been buying. So I've just been buying as much as the stuff that I wanted, just to, that I know I'll shoot, but I'm not buying anything that I don't think I'll need, but I want to get a little bit of a variety to get to see what kind of ammo these guns like.
Well, now I'm contemplating getting back into the Eastern Bloc guns, like the Tokarevs and the, all these guns that you can get spam cans of ammo and stuff for. You're kind of like, well, you could go shoot it, and the ammo's cheap, and I don't know. I need to get Tokarev though.
They're so ugly.
Oh, they're terrible. That's what makes them so great. They're just awful.
So ugly.
They're awful.
I had really considered doing a Makarov again. I don't know if you remember, I used to have like 2 Makarov pistols, and I saw one with an oil can suppressor, a legitimate oil can suppressor on it, and I thought, and it was gold. It was Iraqi veteran, I think, posted it, and he had a gold one, and he had it with an oil can suppressor, and I thought, that would be a cool novelty gun. But I really need to get away from these novelty guns. I think I've got too many novelties already.
Yeah. No, I saw, what was it? I saw a Glock with an oil, like the frame oil can that it looked just like the Call of Duty stuff. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool.
The adapters are legit, right? I mean, you could buy you can form one in an adapter. I mean, it is a thing. I don't know how well they work, but, speaking of suppressors, I did get my, did we talk about a Q trash? Yeah, we talked about the Trash Panda last week that I actually was able to snag one, and the Rex cans and all that. I finally got all the adapters. That stuff works. I haven't shot a lot, so I don't want to talk about it too much yet, but initial indications are pretty good on everything, so cool. I'm pretty happy. So that's
okay. Before we get into Zach's world of actual gun stuff, Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. We got some new patches in stock. Bacon cheeseburger patches in stock, if that's your thing.
Is Tim McGraw going to sue you for that?
Probably. And then also Patch of the Month just shipped. May Patch of the Month is amazing. Check it out, patriotpatch.co. Also check out the cleaning mats and everything else over there, patriotpatch.co. All right, Zach, let's get into the actual gun stuff.
Well, I think we briefly showed it off last week with the Enoch chassis, the one that I built, and I did a video of it. So in the show notes, there's a link directly to a video. But even this is how fast things change. Even since that video, I have changed the configurations slightly. And what I did is I added I switched the receiver to a Brownell's receiver that has the pick rail on it. Now I was running the Tandem Cross direct mount with this Hollow Sun directly on it.
Yeah.
But what I found was it's fine, but I like to swap optics and stuff. And I was like, what if I want to put a scope on this really quick and just see what it's capable of? It really limited my options there. So I just switched all my receivers back around. I got this one that has the integrated Picatinny rail, and it's just one less more piece to fail too, because this is directly in there. There's, the factory Ruger receivers have just 4 little tiny screws that hold that scope rail on.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to want to dick with that too much. So I got this. I am so far loving it. I like the brace. I like everything, how compact it is. I'm running the mask suppressor on it right now just because it has it's one of my heaviest cans, so it just kind of balances it a little bit. doesn't mean it needs to stay on there. I put the Q erector, the one that, you build baffle by baffle, and I built it right to the very edge of the chassis. But as soon as I tightened it on, I realized I can't get this off now. Like, you have to take the chassis, you have to take the barrel to action out of the chassis to get your hand around it to then unscrew it. So I'm trying not to run aluminum baffled suppressors right now just because it's a pain to clean. So I'm trying to run all my stainless baffled ones just so I can throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner. But I took it out and I was getting pretty good results with it. I'm super happy with it so far. I like the really small dot on it. I have no complaints so far. So then and I'm running this 4.5 inch barrel that was rechambered from Connecticut Precision Chambering. We talked about this a long time ago, and I wrote it up for RangeHot. There's a link it's at rangehot.com. But remember that gun, the barrel started. Remember that's the one we did where we cut it without rechambering, test fired it, did all the accuracy stuff, then sent it back and had them rechamber it and do all that stuff. And it went from like a 2 to 4 inch group gun at 50 yards to a 1 to 2 inch group gun at 50 yards. Yeah. And I thought that was totally acceptable. Yeah. And I was really tempted by Enoch Industries 6 inch barrels they have from Tactical Solutions there, because I like the kid barrel. The kid barrel is probably more accurate, but it's heavy. It's a pound barrel by itself. Yeah. And that's fine. But then the Enoch barrels are they're super light. I should have probably looked at that beforehand, but I think it's like 6 ounces.
Yeah. Well, I really like that build you got there. And, you said, something about maybe throwing a scope on it at some point. And I've decided that's what I want to do with one of my builds. I want one to have a scope on it and
I think like a 1 to 6 or something.
Yeah. Something like that. But like the stupid Nikon I did the testing with, that thing is just a big behemoth and it's just awful. And so I need something, I know nothing about optics really, so I need to figure out something that's fairly lightweight and not like a big massive, because it just looks, any scope it probably looked too big, but like if I can get something that's fairly small or at least streamlined looking, it might look all right.
I think you're probably going to end up having to do like a 1 to 4 or a 1 to 6 kind of scope. And they're going to be even big just on it, but it's going to be the best you can do. I tried that theory today or yesterday. I have a couple of those UTG bug busters. They're a really compact 3 to 9 scope, like super compact, but it still didn't seem right. And when you actually use them, they have such a small tube. It looks like you're looking through a straw when they're even at 9 power. So wow. I just like, screw it. I don't need it. But this 6 inch barrel from Enoch is, it's a Tactical Solutions barrel, but it's like an exclusive to Enoch. It's only, 5.9 ounces. Wow. That's under half a pound. So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty, well, I guess that'd be, under half pound. Yep. That's pretty light. And I talked to them. I was like, this is kind of an ultimate build. I'm trying to pare down my guns to just get like the best of the best instead of having, why have a safe full of trash, and instead of just having a couple really good ones.
Hands off my trash.
Yeah. So I talked to him. I was like, hey, what kind of accuracy do you really expect on that? And he said it was, about an inch at 50 yards is possible. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I'm getting now. But I didn't want to sacrifice the 6 inch barrel not being subsonic with everything. The benefit of the 4.5 inch barrel is theoretically even high velocity stuff is just, it can't get up to speed. So, yeah. I'm going to skip it for now, but that's what was my only other upgrade that was on my horizon was maybe a different barrel for it. But hey, I saved myself a couple $100, so that's good. So I think this gun will be done. I mean,
that virtually never, done. That like never happens in Zach's world. Save yourself money.
Never. Well, I make up for it in other ways though, so don't worry, we're not done yet. So what I think I'm waiting for the aluminum strutted version of this brace, and I think that'll be exciting to see just kind of what the difference is between the poly and the aluminum. I'm supposed to be getting that whenever they get parts to finish them all, so hopefully that's pretty soon. And then with my 1022 machine gun, I've been having a heck of a time finding magazines that reliably work. So and magazines, like trying to find magazines today are just insane anyways.
So wait, last time you talked about those issues, and did you diagnose it down to your magazines?
Yes, it's I can't remember where we were at last time, but
last time I'm pretty sure you ended it on that you ended up taking everything apart and ultrasonic cleaning and everything, but like you didn't really know for sure what the causation was yet.
Yeah, so I think it ended up being a aftermarket charging handle system it came with a spring on there that was a little bit light and it wouldn't run it because, it's an open bolt. So you're stripping that round off and banging it the very first time. And it just didn't have enough oomph to really hit it. So I replaced it. Thankfully, my buddy's buddy had a set of those kid guide rods with the spring kits with them. Yeah. It's just a rod. So I had to grind off my factory one to get its charging handle off the rod, but I was able to put an extra power spring on it with the factory Ruger handle. And it ran like a top. I mean, it's insanely fast. It's crazy fast. So it's really, really good, but it worked. But then when the mags, I could tell it was the mags failing because it would fail to strip a round off and you pull it back and look into the mag well and the round wasn't fully pushed up to the feed ramps. So like the spring is sticking on its way up, the follower, and it's not pushing the stack up fast enough basically.
Yeah.
So what I also did is I found Power Custom makes a tungsten charging handle, and it's basically just a big handle. I mean, it's a big fat knob on it, and it's meant for 17 HM2 conversions, which is a pretty hot round, and but you could do it. And then what that was doing was keeping the chamber closed as long as you can. So I emailed them to see if it would work, and they were like, "Hey, try it. If it doesn't work, I'll give you the refund. If it doesn't work for it." Well, I tried it. And it does work, and it totally slows down the cyclic rate. It's amazing. It sounds completely different. Wow. I'll actually put a link into the show notes about the video of it running that way. But it doesn't change my mag problem. I'm still having issues with the mags just not feeding and everything. So I've only got a couple older Butler Creeks, and I've got a couple 15 rounders. So what I did is I've been on the hunt for magazines at the distributors as they've been popping up. It's actually so funny because I put them on like my favorites list because they were out of stock. And as soon as I did that, it was like, your favorites are in stock. And I got like a couple at a time every time. So I bought, like $300 and some worth of 1022 magazines. I think I have like 10 of them coming. And so I'm going to test that theory, and then whichever ones I can't get to run full auto, but maybe work semi-auto, I'll just sell those off because I don't need that many mags, but I do need a couple good ones, but I think that'll work. I also got these because the 10 round mags work just fine. So I also got from Tandem Cross these double crosses, and basically what it is there's a link in the show notes if you want to get right to it, but it's a new body. So the clear part is all new. And then all the guts and bolts and feed lips and all that's from your old magazines. And what it is, it's like a Siamese mag. The mag is molded together right in the center, and they don't need all the extra. This is a more compact package than taking two BX1 mags and putting them butt to butt. This is actually smaller overall than that. Yeah. And you basically just take your mags apart, put these in there, and you got 20 rounds, 10 at a time, and you can just flip it. And it actually sits, so you get 20 rounds, but it actually sits lower, or tighter to the chassis than a 15 round single stack mag hanging out the bottom. So I'm going to try those. I already said I actually did try these, and they're fine. They work just like a regular OEM mag. So I think that's kind of a cool option. While I was there, though, I've had some of those 10 round mags since we were in high school. So, I wasn't sure the condition of the spring. So Tandem Cross also sells springs. So I got the springs, and then, you've ever taken one of these apart? I don't know if you've ever done this, but the backside, there's a hex nut. And what that is, it's basically turning like 8 hex spaces. It's got a hex on the back. 8 little flats creates the tension to keep the whole thing spinning. That's how it creates the spring tension for you. That's kind of a pain to do sometimes because you gotta get it right. They make a little toolkit that just pops it in. So I bought that. I got that too. So, it makes assembling the mags a whole lot quicker. So I just did all those. So far, so good. I've got, 6 of them. So, 3 of the clears to get 6 mags, 60 rounds. So
the longer 15 and 25 round mags, even the Ruger mags, don't work.
Well, the 15 rounds do. That's the thing. So the reason I have these two 15s still they work for me for the most part. The problem is everything's not super, super consistent. But what I really like about these, Ruger mags is you can take them apart. Yeah. There's 2 screws, one top, one bottom, and then you can pull it apart. You can clean the inside. You can lubricate it. You can mess with the spring. the spring in here looks exactly like the Butler Creek one. I mean, identical. But the problem is the Butler Creek mag is sealed. It's all sealed plastic. So you can't get to it to lubricate it or clean it or do anything to help fix that. So the Ruger mags are better by far in that regard.
What does anyone sell spring kits for either of those?
Man, I was searching. If anybody's listening to this show that knows of any spring upgrades, because it's basically like those slap bracelets from when we were kids. It's like that.
Oh, really?
It's just a coil, and it just pulls up the coil. It's like it retracts the coil as it goes up. It's not a traditional spring inside here. So if somebody knows of an upgrade, I'd be all over it. So that's kind of what I got going on with 1022s. But then I also, did you see the Space Blaster I got? This is the Kel-Tec. Yeah, the Kel-Tec CP33. I'm a little undecided on it right at the moment. It's a crazy concept. It's a little bit uncomfortable in the hand because it's got so much front to back spacing. It just feels a little strange in the hand. Yeah,
it's got a big butt hanging off the back of it.
And it's got this big butt hanging off the back, but I'm not worried about that so much. But you can see on the back here, I've got an aluminum adapter that provides a Picatinny rail. This is from Arms. It's their brace adapter. And I only have the one brace. I've been sharing it between the Enoch and this. But with this and the folding stock, it's pretty crazy. And so I put a Bushnell TRS 25. I love these Bushnells just because they're great to have in the drawer when you have a gun like this come in that you don't want to dedicate, a hollow sun or something to. They're cheap. They have the direct mount. So I just threw this on here. It works great. And then I put a Silencer Co. Switchback 22 suppressor on it. But the crazy thing is, if you don't know about this gun, it's got a 33 round quad stack magazine. So there's a center divider in the center here. And then you basically do two double stacks on each side, one double stack on each side of the center wall. So it's crazy. They're not that fun to load, obviously. So I was Googling around about, the loading issue with these, and this company, American Speed Loaders, came up, and I knew the name because I already run this mag loader with Glocks. And it's great because what you do is you just put the mag in from the top. It's got like a little base, and then there's a little trough in the backside that you put one round in, and then you just smack down the loader.
That's cool.
Got a little spring action.
It's like an upside down Pez.
Yeah, it's like an upside down Pez. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so I got one of these sent out. I loaded up the mag, and I didn't get any issues with it. So I'm loving it so far. Because the problem with these mags is you got to make sure you don't get any rim lock, which means the round is caught on the rim of the one below it, and then it can't feed. Like if the bullet on top is behind the bullet below it, it'll never feed, because as it gets stripped, the rims will catch and lock up with each other. So I got that. I've been using it with the Glock for a couple years, so I'm assuming the Kel-Tec one will be very good. Now, this is the good news for listeners, is they also sent me a Kel-Tec CMR /PMR 30. So I got two of these to give away to listeners. So if I don't have a CMR or a PMR.
Wow.
So if you have a Kel-Tec CMR or a PMR, it's basically the 22 mag version of this gun, send an email to gunguyradio@gmail.com, and all we ask is some sort of little blurb about it at the end when you actually use it, to see if you like it or not. And I will get these shipped out to you. And I got a second CP33 one as well. So if you got a CP33 like I've got here, I've got one loader for that too. So first three people to email Jake at gunguyradio@gmail.com have those up for grabs. So make sure you put the address in there and everything so I can get that shipped off to you.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm loving it. The gun itself, I've got a few issues with.
So did I see when you release that mag, does it have a butt mag release?
Oh yeah. It's a heel release. So it has the little button.
That is so ridiculous. Why?
I don't know. Maybe they don't think you're going to be reloading 33 rounds very often. And these mags, you know what I think it is really? So here's the other thing, that this is well documented, and it's not really a problem, but you have to, and then they don't drop free. So this is a stiff, they slide in the mag well, and they're kind of there, and you have to pull them out to get them to come out. I'm wondering if these mags are pretty fragile and they don't want people dropping them on the ground.
Oh, that could be. Yeah.
because they have these big windows on the side and everything, so there's definitely chances for stuff to get in there and everything.
Yeah.
Supposedly the windows are for you to be able to push the rounds around if there is a rim lock situation. You can kind of rejigger them in there. But yeah, it's definitely a gun you're going to load, shoot 33 rounds, and then not be doing this crazy tactical reloads and all this kind of stuff. But what I've also noticed is holding this gun out at arm's reach and shooting 33 rounds of controlled fire gets pretty tiring, actually. That's a lot of rounds in a pistol. And so, I do like,
I've got a theory on the mags. It's a space gun. You don't want your mags floating away in space. That's why they don't drop free.
Ooh, very, very true. Maybe I'll have to email Kel-Tec and ask him. I do like the full Picatinny rail on the top of the whole receiver. So, it's got pretty good fiber optic sights on it already, but it has a full length rail system. So you can put scopes or optics, you can put lasers, whatever you want on top of it, and it's there. The charging handle, so it just uses kind of like a charging handle system here. But the issue I've had, there's only been like two main ones.
So it's like an AR-15 style charging.
Yeah, it's like a U-shaped plastic charging handle in the back. The problem I've had is it's got a bolt release or a slide release or bolt release, I guess in this case, on the side like you would normally have a pistol. I cannot get it to release the bolt from the life of me. It's like, I don't know if it's deflecting or what, but I cannot pull it down with my thumb. Now I can pull the bolt back just a little bit to relieve pressure on it and then pull the thing down and it's fine. But I can't get it to do it by myself. I have put a little flat bladed screwdriver in there and popped it down, and then it does do it.
Did you have your husband give it a try?
Wow. All right. I just think it's deflecting. I just don't think it's getting the motion it should. And when it's fully loaded, when there's 33 rounds on here, there's quite a bit of pressure, pushing on the mag. And so when you slingshot it and you just let her go, a lot of times it won't push the round all the way in the chamber. So you have to kind of pull it back and kind of do a half slingshot. You don't want to go all the way back, so you don't want to strip another round off, but you got to get it, you got to help it in the chamber.
It's extremely finicky is what I'm hearing.
I'm hoping it's just a break-in issue because the first two mags I shot with this were perfect. Yeah. And there were subsonic CCIs and they were kind of clean ones. Then I shot some Remington subsonics that were kind of that kind of waxy, where the black comes off in your fingers, and it was jam city. It wouldn't even function. Really? So then I was like, crap. So I had to clean these mags all the way in dishwater or dish soap and water and everything to get all that kind of waxy goo off it. I took this whole thing apart and cleaned it. So hopefully it'll get better. It is getting better. And once it runs through all 33 just fine, it seems like. And it's fun. And the trigger is fantastic. It's 2.5 pounds. Yeah. It's insanely how good the trigger is for what it is. But it seems like it could be a really cool, fun gun. I just got to get through some of these little teething issues with it.
Huh. How long? That's been out a long time, right? They just haven't been available?
I've had this on order since October. So, I think it's just been available. It's Kel-Tec. It's
right.
They show everything awesome. And, when they come to market or when you can actually get your hands on one remains to be seen. Yeah. I remember seeing this at SHOT Show 2019. I remember.
Yeah. Kel-Tec, maybe you can buy it.
Yeah. But it's innovative. It's a cool design. There's nothing else like it right now with the mag like that. They literally, well, for better or worse, I guess. Right. But and the original ones, they must have abandoned the idea. But the original media that was out there about it had a mag extension on the mags, and you could put a full 50 rounds in the mag.
Wow!
So that's pretty crazy. Putting a full box of ammo in one mag.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
that is pretty cool. But so the CP33, I also have a video of it on there if you want to see that. There's a link in the show notes, but I'm gonna give it more time before I make any kind of judgment on it. It's a neat gun.
Well, I do think sorry to interrupt. I do think it looks cool with the brace. I wasn't so sure about that, but once you got it set up with that and the suppressor, it kind of really comes together. So I don't know.
So the CP or the SB tactical brace on it makes it a little bit long. It feels pretty long.
Oh, because it's already long in the back.
Yeah, because it's got that overhang in the back. Now, there is another company called Ferrotech that makes a carbon fiber tubes. it's like a carbon fiber telescoping deal, and I'll put a link in the show notes for that. But it's very expensive because it uses a tail hook adapter on these carbon fiber tubes, and then it uses this loaded receiver. So by the time you put everything on there, it's like $250.
And how much is the gun?
I don't know, like $499 maybe. So I'm just worried, like, I want to make sure this gun runs 100% before I invest in that expensive of a stock system for it. But it looks cool. I mean, the pictures in this guy's website has a IR illuminator and an RMR on a Scholarworks mount. So I mean, like, he's got more money in just the top half of the gun than the whole gun itself, but and a suppressor and everything. And that looks cool. That's like that is the true, like, poor man's MP7 basically. Yeah,
that's true. With magazines that don't work go in and out too good.
Well, you gotta lower your expectations is all.
I don't know. That's like, as soon as I saw you do that to the magazine, I'm like,
Now, Tandem Cross, who we talked about earlier, does make almost like a Magpul Ranger hoop for the bottom of these mags, so you can rip them out without having to grip them. So it's like a little hoop on the bottom. But I don't think they're ever just going to fall out of the mag well like a normal, standard pistol.
You just got to take your Dremel to the inside of the grip.
Yeah, right? Like your chamber work on your kid barrel.
Yeah, if you want chamber work, just email Gun Guy. No.
Okay, so here's how we doing on time. We're about 45 minutes in, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need some consoling here, and I need your opinion. I've hit a crisis point, like I do every year.
Oh no, lay it on me.
So I was out shooting these 22s the other day, and I had the Enoch and the CP, and I had my my CZ 457 with the nice Boyd Zat1 stock on it and all that stuff, and I had the Tikka T1X with that stock I painted.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't even count the guns that were still in the safe, like 1022s and stuff that I have. The problem I'm having is I've got a lot of redundancy in my 22s. There's not anything special about any of them, and they're all just kind of okay. So here's my thing. What I'm kind of thinking is I have my 6.5 Creedmoor bolt gun. It's a Bergara HMR Pro.
Yeah.
And it's nestled in a KRG Bravo chassis. I think it would be smarter to have a true trainer rifle to that. So if I had like two nice rifles, because I regard the HMR Pro as a nice rifle. I've got a good scope on it. I got a nice decent chassis. I mean, it's a good rifle. But like the guns that I have don't feel the same. The 22s don't feel the same compared to that. So I have a couple options. So shooting just the Tikka T1X with a 3x9 scope on it and the plastic stock, I was getting better groups in that than I was the CZ with a nice laminated wood stock, a heavy barrel, and a 6-24 scope on it. Same ammo, everything else same.
Really?
I thought that was kind of crazy. So I'm thinking, and the 457 might settle in. I've had the Tikka just a little bit longer, so maybe it's been settled in a little bit more. I don't know, but here's my options as I see it. The Tikka T1X, I can get the exact same Bravo chassis for it. And I can actually get the same one for the 457 as well. They make one for each. Mm-hmm. Now I think it's kind of goofy to buy one for the 457 when it already has a nice adjustable stock and it's a good quality stock. But the Tikka has a cheap plastic factory stock. I think it would actually benefit from a good chassis. So I could do the Tikka T1X. And I already have a Diamondback tactical scope from Vortex, which is like the cheaper version of the Viper PST that's on the other gun, the Bergara. So I could have a similar but not the exact same setup in 22. Very similar scopes. The gun isn't exactly the same, but the stock will be the same. And I can make a trainer for it, right?
Yeah.
That leaves the 457. I could either keep it or sell it. I mean, either way, it doesn't really matter. But the third option, well, there's really two sub options within that. There's two main companies that I see making true trainer 22s. These are Remington 700 style, size, footprint, everything. So they go into Remington 700 stocks. They use Remington 700 triggers, which is the key point here. So Bergara, who I already have the 6.5 in, they make a HMR trainer, which is just it's a It's a 22 long rifle, uses an AICS style magazine, so it's same size there. It uses the same footprint. The biggest thing with the trigger is you put the same trigger in it. So I could buy another Trigger Tech trigger, which is the exact same trigger in my bolt gun, and have like literally the same guns basically. That one will be more inexpensive. That is the cheap option, which is still pretty expensive. It's $1,150 MSRP, so $1,000 for that rifle. Then I'd have to buy another Bravo chassis for it, so that's another $350, I think. And then the trigger, which is a few $100s for the trigger too. And I already have the scope that I would use for the meantime. And then Voodoo Gunworks, the V22 there. That gun is like the top of the heap. That is the cream of the cream. That is like what wins all the competitions. It is an insane gun. Now, just the barrel to action alone for that gun is $1,770. Just the barrel to action. So that means, which is nice because you could buy it in a barrel to action. So you could put that into the chassis. So you still need the chassis. You still need the trigger. You got the $1,700. So you're going to be in it quite a bit of money. But if I buy a $350 chassis for the Bravo or for the Tika, I'm $350 further away from saving up for the Voodoo. If I buy the Bergara and it's good, but it's just not as refined as the Voodoo, that's another half step. So am I at the point where I just buy once, cry once? Like I could literally just keep the Tika as it is, or maybe even get the Bravo chassis, shoot it all year and just save up for a Voodoo for next year. And even if my desires are still there next year, or I could sell the Tika, sell the 457 and probably get enough money to at least have a good chunk towards the Voodoo by itself.
So my thought is, how quick are you going to change your mind on? So you're building these trainers to match these other rifles. How quick are you going to change these other rifles out that you're building the trainers for?
Well, that's a fair point. Yes, but I think I'll always have a 6.5 Creedmoor. It seems like that's a good, like I don't hunt, so I don't need like a hunting rig specifically. It's just for long range target practice. And the 6.5 seems to do what I need for. Now, eventually, so here was the other thing. Now that you said that, the KRG Bravo chassis is a chassis that I could afford at the time. I think it works fine. It's good. But what I really like is the Q fix rifle. The Q fix rifle is a completely different rifle, but it's an integrated chassis, it's a crazy rifle. It's expensive. It's, $3,000+ just for that rifle. And that's in 6.5. But everybody you talk to that has one says it's just the cat's meow and it's just amazing. So that's what I want eventually, but I just don't think that's going to be feasible really right away. But so they also sell a side chick chassis, which is the similar style chassis as the fix, but for Remington 700 footprint rifles. So you can take your action and put it in there. And I could buy the side chick chassis and put my Bergara in it. And then that would be my fix until I can afford a fix. And then I can move that chassis down to a Voodoo or Bergara trainer action in it and make a 22 counterpoint to the fix with it later. So I don't know. I mean, the chassis are pretty much interchangeable once you're in that 700 footprint. So I'm not worried about that. Whatever I could buy for that one rifle, I can get for that other rifle. Same thing with the triggers and all that stuff. So if I change my mind on what stock style it needs to be in, I'm pretty versatile there. If I decide to go to a fix, it's not even the same thing as a Remington 700. So, it would start to veer off that path.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you could get to a fix if you sold all this and didn't do any of your plans.
Well, yeah, I could probably, but the problem is the fixes, you can never freaking find one in stock. Like they are so back ordered. In his podcast, he says he's about a year back on a lot of this stuff. Jeez. And the other problem is that doesn't solve my 22 trainer problem because I couldn't afford to shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor, multiple weekends a month and during summer. I could do it with a 22. Even 22 good ammo, like the ones that people say are like good in those Voodoos and everything, it's 20 cents a round. Yeah. Like it's not cheap, but it's way cheaper than $1 or something for 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah. I don't know.
What would the rich version of you do?
None of it.
See, you would just spend $3,000 on 1022 parts and not have a gun that's fully together. I see.
I'd probably buy another couple mini bikes, honestly.
Yeah. You might actually get more fun out of the mini bikes until it breaks, and then you have more frustrations with it than the rifles.
Yeah.
Well, and I can't fault you too much, so we don't have to decide on that. If anybody has any opinions on that, I'd love to hear that too at gunguyradio@gmail.com. But my machine gun saga with the 1022, I broke down and I bought a Ruger charger, a new one.
Did you?
I bought a takedown charger because I did notice that if you shoot like 300 rounds in it, it starts to get pretty gummy. And so the takedown charger, I can clean the barrel really easy, just pulling it off. Yeah. And I can just spray the living snot out of the breech face from the exposed open action there. So I did buy one of those, but it comes with a 10-inch barrel. And so what I did is I bought a Magpul backpacker stock for it. And so with a 10-inch barrel and the suppressor on it should be about the same length as a 16-inch barrel, and it'll all break down. So I got the stock. The gun should be here Monday. So, I'm hoping I'm not going to really worry too much about diagnosing the machine gun until I have it all in its final form or, final-ish form. So we'll see what happens when I get it all together. So hopefully by the next show, I will have that cool 1022.
See, you keep changing all your variables, and then you're like, well, maybe it wasn't the magazines. Maybe it was this.
Well, and then, exactly. So I should have all the parts together at that point to figure that out.
Yeah. No,
I think I'm going to sell some of those PMACA chassis. I've got quite a few now, and I don't need them all.
Well, there's your trainer chassis right there.
But they're not the same. They're not. That's the whole point. The whole point is to get the exact same feel of your full size rifle. I know. I don't know. I'm just exhausted by your 9 different plans you laid out. Well, some of us have to go back and re-listen to it at like quarter speed and let me know.
Yeah, I think building up trainers for any gun is a really cool idea. Especially your longer range stuff. I guess you're just going to have to decide what you're more likely to keep longer, Well, that's always a toss-up. Which with yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing I think is like, if I buy the Voodoo, I don't even know what the lead time on a Voodoo is really right now. I don't know if they stock them or what, but let's say I buy one of those. The resale value on that is probably pretty darn good because it is the top end of top ends. But like, do I even need top end of top end here? I think the Bergara would give me a really good feel for whether I like it without putting in a boatload of money into it.
Yeah, I'd probably start lower to mid, especially you're not, like you said, you're not hunting or even shooting competition seriously or anything. This is just like a hobbyist kind of angle to everything. And while being a hobbyist, you still want, the best of the best, but you also got to balance that with price and what else you want to do in your gun collection.
Exactly. Okay.
So Patriot Patch helps make this possible. Check out the Patch of the Month Club at patriotpatch.co. Have some new patch designs in stock. Also check out the Patch of the Month Club, patriotpatch.co. And if you're looking for artwork design or website design, check out Ryan Cross at hunterofdesign.com. Ryan can design awesome logo for you or an entire website. Check it out, hunterofdesign.com. And Zach, where can people connect with you and see your stuff?
You can click the link in the show notes for the YouTubes and RangeHots. But yeah, it's basically Zack Carlson Writer on YouTube. You can find it pretty easy.
And you're giving away those magazine loaders, right? You can
and if you want to see the loader, there's a link in there under the CP33 tab. It's the American Speed Loader. Basically, I've got one CP33 and 2 PMR CMR 30s. So if you have either of those guns,
I say they need to send us a picture of their gun so that we can verify they actually own it and they're just not trying to flip a loader or something here.
Okay, so you're saying our listeners aren't smart enough to just Google a picture and send it to you.
Well, they gotta get that day's newspaper and stand in front of the Statue of Liberty, and no, that doesn't work. Anyways, shoot us feedback at gunguyradio@gmail.com, and I'll forward it to Zach, and he'll decide whether or not you're worthy enough. Don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. And that's about a wrap. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.